Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life and the NTBA, and today's Lunch and Learn I'm talking about, something we probably don't really want to think about, and that's it's the boring stuff. It's legal protection. And of course, well, for me personally, it was the most boring thing I had to think about. Setting up my business, last thing I wanted to think about was contracts and legals. It's just not my thing, and so I just stuck my head in the sand and kind of ignored it, to be honest. And some of the things that happened to me when I first started practicing woke me up to the fact that I really needed not to pull my head out of the sand and actually do something about it. A couple of things that happened was one of my clients asked for a refund halfway through her program, and I was with her for about 3 months, so I'd already done quite a bit of work. Wasn't included in my terms of engagement because I was using the old ION BANT terms of engagement, which didn't go into any detail about what would happen if someone asked for a refund. So I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what I was liable for, what I could say yes or no to. So it was very confusing. She wanted a full refund, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, I've done so much work here and I have no idea what to do about it. So I kind of just backed down and gave her a full refund, and I thought, I've just lost so much money and time and energy, and I thought I really need to have this nailed. The other thing that happened was I offered someone a payment plan, and when the final payment was due, I chased it, sent email after email, invoice after invoice, and I heard crickets, absolutely nothing. This woman just ghosted me, fell off the face of the earth, could not get hold of her. And again, I lost the money. So I'm thinking, well, I kind of realised I needed to protect myself. The other thing I did was I did a speaking engagement at a company when we used to be able to go out and talk to companies, and I didn't get paid for 6 months. I again was chasing, and I didn't think I'd ever get paid because I hadn't put a contract in place. So all of this, mine actually weren't that bad, but they could have been really bad had this happened more often, and had it been more money involved. Because, as a sole business owner, cash flow is absolutely key. And if you're not getting the money in on time or even at all, it could absolutely ruin you. And not just that, but the stress of having to deal with it, having to constantly chase, not knowing whether you're going to get paid or not. It's just stress that you can do without, right? So it taught me a massive lesson that I shouldn't ever ignore the boring stuff. You are, as a business owner, we're responsible for our businesses, and that includes protecting them as well. So I sorted it out. I was lucky enough to meet Suzanne Dibble, who's an expert lawyer. She used to be a lawyer for Richard Branson. She's in the online digital space, so I kind of bumped into her at a networking event, and I worked out what she did, and she specializes in providing legal protection for small businesses just like you and me. So it was perfect. It meant that I didn't have to pay the big bucks for big lawyers, but I would have everything I needed for an online business to be protected and work properly, and that's exactly what she does. And her Small Business Legal Academy is amazing for that. She's an online business person herself, so she knows exactly what we all need, and she talks to you like a real person and not like, nothing against lawyers, but sometimes when they speak to you, it's like, I don't understand what you're saying. So I wanted just to quickly today run through a few of the things that you need to be thinking about in terms of your legal protection. The first one is contracts, right? So the first thing, we all have, when we leave college, we all have a terms of engagement kind of framework, template, whatever you like to call it. It is very, very, very basic, and it does not cover you for the majority of things that you're going to have to cover yourself for. So for one-to-one work, you absolutely need a really robust contract. And the terms of engagement that we normally get from college is not going to be enough, because it's got to cover things like payment. It's got to cover things like, refunds and cancellations. It's got to cover your liability in a lot more depth than the one we get does. It's got to cover things like disclaimers and guarantees and all of that stuff, so that if somebody doesn't get the results from working from you, you are completely covered in these terms. That's what you need. That's the most important thing you need. Other contracts include things like, you might not even think about, things like events, when we're allowed to do those, and retreats. So, things like cancellations and liability and payments, all that sort of stuff. Speaking gigs, for using your stuff, copyright, payment, all of that. You need contracts for things like affiliate programs and joint ventures. So if you're working with a partner on something, you need to be really, really clear what you're going to get out of it, what they're going to get out of it, and any areas of dispute. There are so many areas you can get into trouble with when you're working with partners, collaborators, joint ventures, all that sort of stuff. You also need contracts for hiring people. So even if you haven't got any employees, you might work with a freelancer or a VA or somebody, even an email service provider. You need to have a really robust contract in place, an agreement in place, so that each of you is completely clear on any areas that might be a bit grey. So that's your contracts. Then you need stuff on your website that's totally non-negotiable. You absolutely need your terms of service, and that protects your business from liability, from website misuse, protects your visitors as well. From if those of people are consuming your content, it outlines how your website should be used, all of that stuff. So that's your terms of service. You need a privacy policy on there, and that's basically a disclosure document. It's there to protect consumers. It's a declaration that you're making to visitors about how you're gathering information and what you're going to do with it, basically. So that's your privacy policy, and that's got to be on the footer of every page of your website, all your landing pages and whatever else. Then you need a terms and conditions document if you're selling any kind of online program, digital or a physical product. So if you've got any kind of online program that you're selling, you need to have a terms and conditions document, which is different from your terms of engagement. So that is more for one-to-one work. This is for a product that you're selling off your website. You need copyright and trademark information. So if you want to protect your ideas, your content, your inventions, your unique products, you can copyright and trademark them. So this becomes your intellectual property. So this is your own creations that you own, and it's protecting them from being stolen, misused, replicated, used somewhere else. All right. So copyright protects your sort of content, and that's kind of your website stuff and any content that you put out. And a trademark is something that protects your brand name, logo, or kind of slogan, right? So you can use it, both of them or either of them, but it's the best way to protect what you create, basically. So for instance, Happy Hormones for Life is my brand, and I've trademarked that so no one else can use it, basically. And then copywriting, I think if you create a website, it's automatically copyrighted, but there are other laws as well that you might want to look at, or other content that you might want to copyright. Data protection and GDPR is the final bit that I'm just going to mention. It's a big topic, but you need to be compliant. We've already talked about privacy policy. You need a cookie policy as well for your website, and your web designer can probably help with that, but you've got to have the right wording for that. You've got to have the right opt-in wording if you're giving away a lead magnet that we've talked about. So you need to check a box that you're giving permission to be adding to their mailing list. You need an unsubscribe option if you're sending out emails as well, so that people can back out, opt out very, very easily. And of course, you need to be compliant with data protection and all of that stuff. Now, obviously, it's a really complex thing. That's why we have lawyers who deal with all this stuff. And I would absolutely advise you get legal advice for your own business, but that can be quite expensive, right? So not all of us can afford their £400-500 an hour fees to get legal advice drawn up for your own business. So the next best thing is to get it in the form of something like Suzanne's program, which is amazing. So she's offering at the moment, if you're quick, she's got a program at the moment that's closing on Wednesday, I think. If you're watching this video, and I'm talking on the 15th, so that would be the 17th of March. If you're watching at a later date, sorry, it's probably closed. But do check out her other stuff because she's great. She's doing a 90-day legal protection program, and it's pretty much got everything in it that you're going to need to protect your business. And she's going to be there along the way to help you implement it, because it's no good kind of having this stuff if you're not actually putting it into your business where you need it. So by the end of the 90 days, you've got everything in place and you're fully protected, which is going to give you massive peace of mind, because that's what I've got now, peace of mind that anything that happens, I'm fully covered and I don't need to worry. So I hope that was useful. I know it's not the glamorous side of running a business, but it's so, so important. So I hope you've got some ideas there, and yeah, let me know how you get on. I'll see you next time.